Okay, great. And I've started recording the presentation. So Dr. Lester has a series of these. And so this is something that you can go back and watch on YouTube. And that you can watch previous virtual plant clinics. So so I don't have any chat questions yet. Does anybody have any questions that you would like to have now? Just type them in. While we do that, Lily, I'm going to share some pictures that we received from some of our clients. And I'm sure you can probably see this right here. So this is...
Not yet. No, we can't see your screen, or I can't. There it is. Yeah,
okay.
Now we can.
Yeah, I can see it on my cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So Lily, what was the question from the homeowner on this?
Oh, well, the homeowner, they are just west of 19 in Spring Hill, and I think it's kind of near a lake, so it's kind of a wet area. And they like this tree. They recently just moved there because the tree is nice and brings shade, but the neighbor is unhappy with the look. So I think there's a little bit of a, contention between the two of them. One thinks it should come down, the other doesn't. So, I mean, this particular limb doesn't look very promising to me, but I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, and you notice it's kind of hard because we're just seeing like we're just
a
seeing
piece of it, yeah.
Right. So, but it looks like it has that V crotch. So we don't know if that's if this is actually a central leader coming up and it's splitting in two. If that is the case, then that would definitely be the problem. You never want to have a tree with a, as it's growing up and then, it splits in two different ways where it's like a V, because that is not the, it can become structurally compromised, and something like this will break off one side of the tree. And then when it rips it down, it can affect the tree's health. So, and the tree will probably decline. Now, looking at this cavity right here in the tree, I'm in agreement with Lily. It definitely doesn't look like a good sign for the tree.
No.
So my main concern would be that limb, that whole limb cracking at that crotch right there and then falling down. We don't know what's under that. Could be a house, could be nothing. But to me, it would be of great concern. So one thing that I would suggest would be to contact a certified arborist, to have them professionally evaluate it. Now, certified arborists are professionally trained. They have to go through continuing education throughout the year. And I'm going to put in the chat box where you find this. It's treesaregood.com, and you can put in your zip code, and you can find where that arborist is, and it's ISA Arborist, International Society of Arboriculture, and have them professionally evaluate. Some of these large tree companies have a certified arborist on site, so that way they can take a look at it and they can safely remove it. But it is a big concern with this tree, unfortunately, because that's a large tree, and Lily, a lot of animals live in that tree.
Right. Yeah.
So trees such as large oaks, good oaks like large live oaks, turkey oaks, Shumard oaks. These are kind of, you can consider them like keystone species, right? So like the gopher tortoise and the American alligator. Think of all the animals that live in these trees. You have gray squirrels, you have red-shouldered hawks, you have a whole bunch of bugs. And the Spanish moss on the trees, you actually have several species of bats that roost in that Spanish moss. So it hosts a lot of species. So, unfortunately, this limb may need to be taken down. But
hopefully it's just the limb that needs
hopefully
to.
it's not the whole tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if they happen to take down the whole tree, it would be absolutely safe to plant another oak tree in its place.
Right.
What's happening on this tree limb is not going to happen in the soil. It's not a fungus or anything like that. So it would be perfectly safe to plant it. And we definitely recommend doing that. Obviously, contacting Lilly and making sure that you're planting the right plant in the right place. And Lilly's a great resource, and so is Dr. Lester. And this is something that I tell people in both counties, that if y'all have any questions on plants and when to put them in the ground, contact Lilly and Bill, and show them a list of your plants, and they'll tell you, hey, this is a great plant, or no, you might want to think twice about using that plant. So I'm gonna stop sharing. I almost ended the meeting there for a second, Lilly.
No.
I almost typed the wrong red button. So, so I have in the chat box. It looks like.
Oh, yeah, the mulberry tree is of interest.
Yeah, we're gonna show the mulberry tree. Okay, so my phone is showing it, so hopefully y'all can.
Yeah, we got it.
The tree there. So you see, you have this mulberry tree, and you have these different types of leaves on there, and so you have. I'm actually have a different picture here, Lily, that I'm going to share that I brought up. That's probably a little bit clearer. So look at those little spots on the leaves. Okay, so those little spots are not a good sign. So you're noticing little spots on the leaves, some yellowing. Now, is this, bacterial or fungal? And that's the big question. So with this disease, to me, this looks like it's a Pseudomonas, which is bacterial. So you have bacteria and you have fungus. Now with fungus, it's a little bit easier to manage. You can go out as part of your integrated pest management program. You can use a fungicide and apply that fungicide. However, a fungicide on a bacteria is probably not going to work too well, right, Lily? Because they're two different.
Right, it won't do anything. Right, it'll prevent fungus, but it won't do anything to the bacteria.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is to me, this looks like a Pseudomonas, which is a bacteria. Now,
Could you put that in the chat? Someone's asking for that name, and we don't know what you're saying.
Sure, absolutely. Hold on for just a second. That's what it is right there. That's the fancy name.
It's a pseudonym.
And it's the easy name is bacterial leaf spot.
There you go.
So let me go back to the screen here, if I can find it again. What am I doing? All right. So it is a bacterial leaf. Now, now Jennifer, how do you control this? So it looks like the whole, a lot of the plant has this on there, and in some cases, it's just recommended that you physically remove those leaves and get rid of them. If you happen to have just one branch or one stalk that's affected, you can actually prune this off. What I would like you to do is let's investigate this a little bit further, and let's look at it a bit further. And you can, here's my email right there. I would prefer that you email me some more pictures of the entire plant, the whole plant in general. And let me just take a better look at it and give you some more suggestions. But, removing the leaves will work because that bacteria will spread. Even the leaves on the ground. Now, we like to encourage there's nothing wrong with leaves in general getting on the ground because it can act kind of like an organic mulch. However, whenever you have diseased leaves, you don't want that, either with bacteria or fungus. So you can actually take these leaves and remove them. You should take these leaves and remove them and get them out of there. And hopefully the plant will respond and come back. So I'm assuming, is this Jennifer's plant, Lily, that I'm looking at? I'm assuming it is.
Yes, she's asking about it. She must be the one who emailed Bill.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it is my
Yes,
plant.
she says it is. Yes.
So Jennifer, whatever you type in, if you're fertilizing anything, so either yes or no, and if you are, what are you fertilizing with?
She is fertilizing.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Now we have to see, okay, what are we fertilizing with? Compost.
Compost tea, yes.
Okay. It's organic. So you want to keep things organic, I'm assuming. Okay. So all of those are good compost. Hopefully you have a compost pile. Lily, do you teach composting classes, or who does?
Yes,
Hernando?
we do. Bill and I both do. And I'm working with Carmen Bruno, who has actual, physical compost bins. He's the recycling coordinator from Hernando County Solid Waste. So I'm trying to ask him, how many bins he has, and if we could have just a few small classes, like on Zoom. You would need a password, and maybe just a few at a time, because then he may actually deliver the bins to you, but somehow we're working on reviving those again in this new era. So.
Okay, good. So awesome. And Jennifer said that she's working on the compost pile, but it's not useful yet, and it takes some time. So yeah, I mean that the compost works for if since we have other gardeners on there as well. If some people like to use compost, some people like to use a mix of compost and synthetic. So it all depends on that person's preference. If you're going to use a synthetic, something like for this, something simple like a 666, 888 would be just fine, and you can water it in. The only thing is that with your fertilizers that you buy from the stores, and this is the reason why I was asking what you're fertilizing. Since you're fertilizing with some compost material, that's awesome. But some of the stuff that you buy from the stores, not all the fertilizer is created equal out there. And this goes for citrus fertilizer. This goes for lawn fertilizer. And since one of my specializations is for palm trees, especially palms, there's not one good palm fertilizer in a box store. Did you know that, Lily? Not a single.
No, I didn't. I would have got a palm special and thought that was good. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get what you pay for, and some of the high grade materials that you buy at other companies that are usually more in price are better. And so, and it's really depends on the formulation, because it's not, a lot of people ask me, is Vigoro good? Is Scott's good? Is Lesco good? And trade names are irrelevant. So for example, you have one trade name has a very, 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 very good palm fertilizer. And the same trade name that produces that fertilizer nationally, that fertilizer is absolutely useless because of what's in it. So here's my pet peeves on fertilizers to everyone for synthetics, is that it's okay to me. It's, synthetics are part, especially if, for growing some plants, it's absolutely fine. But in the formulation, some of the stuff is useless. So for example, if you see zinc oxide, manganese oxide, iron oxide, all these oxides, right? So all these oxides are really basically useless. And you will find this in majority of the fertilizers in the box stores, especially the ones in the pretty bags. the ones that has a pretty palm tree or the pretty citrus right on the front. Marketing. But that fertilizer is really useless. And speaking on the palm level, our specialists will tell you that it's best to not even fertilize than use that fertilizer. So what you want to do, flip over the back of that bag and read it. And it's not, you have the guaranteed analysis, and you have what's a little paragraph called derived from. And so this is what you really want to look for in a fertilizer. So is there any other questions out there that y'all have? I know we have quite a few people in our group today. So if you would like, there's a little chat box on the bottom, and you can type your question in that little chat box.
I have a question regarding mulberries. Somebody recently asked. I think I know the answer, but they were looking for a place where they could buy mulberries from a farm. They didn't want the trees. They just wanted to be able to purchase mulberries. And I think it's not really all that feasible for farmers to grow and sell. Am I correct about that? Is that what happens there? Yeah, the berries don't last long enough to make it to market, or something along those lines?
Yeah, it's not going to be profitable at all.
So that's why nobody does it.
Yeah. So that's not gonna work out that way. So you're absolutely right. So
Leanna has a shriveled up zucchini. She's been at all of our talks here, and I know she's been talking about her zucchini to Bill.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's shriveled up.
It shriveled up and died. So yeah, it's, without seeing a picture, Leanna, it's kind of hard to say. So again, I'm putting my email in because sometimes the chat box doesn't stay. So here's my email again. And just what I would prefer is that you send an email and of the picture of the plant, preferably, and what your management has been on that zucchini plant. Okay, we're getting, but it is getting to the end of the season, so you're not going to be able to plant too much coming up, right, Lila? I think there's not any summer vegetable plants that you can use. There is, one
okra.
Oh yeah, I know. I was going to say okra. It's a nematode magnet, but you don't.
Okra, sweet potatoes, and black-eyed peas, right?
Yeah, watermelon. A lot of people right now are planting squash. Squash is in full bloom, yellow squash. So there is a few that you can plant. If you plant okra in, just make sure that you don't plant okra in the same place. And as always with your vegetable crops, you want to make sure you rotate. Okay, use a good composted soil, and rotate those crops.
So you have an interesting apple question in the chat.
Okay.
Did you see that?
How do we keep bugs away from our apples? That's the $1 million question, Jennifer. So are you growing, what kind of apples are you growing? Are you growing Anna, Dorset, tropical sweet? What are you growing down here?
Dorset and Anna.
Okay. So it's extremely hard, especially if you want to go organically. The best thing, now I'm assuming you don't have a lot. First of all, how many apples do you have out there? I've had Anna and Dorset myself.
Ooh, 25.
25 trees. That's impressive. So maybe 25 total.
Oh, 25 apples, maybe.
Oh, okay.
2 trees.
Wow, that's 25 trees.
And an orchard.
We were getting excited. We're going to come visit your farm. So 2 trees. So in all honesty, Jennifer, you're a gardener. And so I'm a gardener. One of the best ways to get bugs off those trees is just to physically remove them. And so just check it on a daily basis. Physically remove those plants, put those bugs in some soapy water. There's nothing that you're going to really put on an apple as a preventive, especially organically. There's some products out there for certain fruit crops that in theory can prevent insects. Those are usually neonicotinoids, and I'm assuming you don't want that because you're organic, so that rules that out. So physically, mechanically removing those bugs. There is, if you happen to get some insects on there, there is a product, some products that such as neem, organocide, which are oil. Neem is a natural product from a neem tree. That's a pretty effective oil. And organocide is basically a fish oil. With these types of products, you can't use when the temperatures are over, I think it's 85, 90 degrees, something like that.
You have fried apples.
What's that?
You would have fried apples then.
Yeah, you would have fried apples. So that's really to the extent what you can do for it. So I would be honest with you, for mine, I would hand pick them. Now, if you have those, they're like leaf-footed bugs. You know what I'm talking about, Lily? If you have fruit, if you have people who have fruit, what they do is they have a piercing, sucking mouth part, and they actually pierce in the fruit. And some of those things will get on your apples and stuff like that. And they love nectarines. So what I would do, and they would, I had plums and nectarines and apples. And so I really didn't care too much for my nectarines. I love my plums and apples. So what I would do, since my nectarines usually produce those crops first, based on a recommendation by Gary England, I would use that as a trap crop. So the bugs would go to the nectarines first, and then I would use a insecticide on those plants because I'm not eating them, and so that would pretty much take out a lot of generations of insects prior for them hitting my plums and apples. So let's look at some of the other questions.
There's a question about a holly. I can't download the picture. Maybe you can.
So I downloaded. I'm going to stop sharing the mulberry bush really quick.
Okay.
And let's see if I can.
We're done going around the mulberry bush.
Yeah. So let me see if I can. I don't want to leave the meeting.
No, don't leave the meeting.
I've done that before.
Yeah. Well, they've listened to Dr. Lester. He told them to ask you with all the hard questions. So.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. All right, so I was able to download the holly. So let's see if I can screen share it, okay? If I can find it.
Oh, I think Leanna's sending her zucchini pictures too. We'll get to those. Yeah. She ran outside, came back in, I think.
There's my holly picture.
Right.
Good. All right, well, so let me see who asked the holly. We got a lot of questions coming in. That's just great. So, Melinda. So, let me read. Can you please tell me what is wrong with my holly bush? So it's Lily, it's kind of hard for me to tell what's exactly going on.
Yeah, I can't see much.
Healthy.
It might be a little bit necrotic. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell from the picture. There is like some webbing on one of the tops of one of the leaves.
Yeah. Melinda, If you can type in the chat box for me, what exactly is going on with this that is your concern? Because it's kind of hard, based on just this, with a macro looking at the leaves, it's kind of hard to see exactly what's going on. I noticed, some of the leaves on the bottom, looks like you have some algae spots. So I zoomed in on those black growths, not sure if that is what's wrong, but it's all I see. Majority of the bush is bare.
Oh,
All right. So, what's
how old is it?
Yes, how old is it, Melinda?
A lot of times, oh, it was there when she bought it 10 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's part of it. So plants do have a lifespan, right?
Yes.
So
Especially in an urban environment. Yes.
yeah. So especially hollies. So in time, you're going to have, as that holly matures, and how tall is this, Melinda? How tall is this holly? First of all, is it just a small shrub or a large tree? About 6 foot. It looks like an Ilex cornuta to me. But in time, you will have these plants slowly decline as they age. Plants do eventually start to phase out. So, and this is what happens with plants such as these, especially I call these, the old school foundation plants. So your Ilex cornutas, your hollies, your boxwood, Indian hawthorn.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. So these plants, as in 7, 8, 10 years, they're eventually going to start to decline, and it's best either to replace them or contact Lilly and find out what the right plant, right place is, because there's a lot, in the industry, the nursery trade now, there's a lot of variety in different types of plants out there that are superior to those foundation plants. Ilex cornuta, the holly that you have, is still an awesome plant. I have it as a foundation plant in my landscape. You can prune it to a different height, but I would say that the majority of this problem would be age. I wouldn't be surprised if it could be possible nematodes, but I would say that it's primarily just, it's ending its career as your landscape plant.
And if it's lived its whole life on an irrigation system, that's not going to make it happy either.
Yes.
It's probably going to shorten its life.
Exactly right. So the nice thing about this plant is that it's easily replaceable, and it's very reasonably priced, and it's a moderate grower. So you could, if this was my plant that's 6 foot, I would just remove it, and then get a plant in 3-gallon pot and plant that plant in your landscape. And in several years, it'll probably be 3 or 4 feet. And in time, you can attain that 6 foot height and it'll look great. Now, here's the thing, Melinda, that a lot of people do wrong, and this might have contributed to the death of this plant over time, is if it has been pruned on a frequent basis. Because a lot of people go out there with hedge pruners and prune this plant. And what they do is they prune these plants in a V, like a vase, right? So the bottom is thinner than the top. And so this is what you don't want to do when pruning shrubs. You want to make sure you don't even prune them straight like this. You want to prune them where the bottom is slightly wider than the top. And that's because the sun can reach the entirety of the plant. So those bottom leaves are getting the sun. If you prune it like this, those bottom leaves are not going to get the sun, and it's going to start to thin out. It's going to start to die back, and so on. It doesn't have to be an extreme like this, but just make sure that the bottom is slightly wider than the top. With most of my shrubs, now it all depends on the shrub. Some shrubs I trim with a hedge trimmer, like Ilex cornuta, or some shrubs I trim my hand pruners, like a fire bush or something like that. But with all these instruments, make sure you sterilize your pruning tool, especially with the hollies, because the hollies are prone to getting certain diseases such as witch's broom and stuff like that. So, you know, just if you can find 70% rubbing alcohol right now, or whenever it becomes available, put put it in a 32-ounce spray bottle, mark alcohol on it, and keep that with your gardening supplies. So that's what all landscape professionals do. I worked at Universal at the Breakers in Palm Beach, and every single one of my guys, every single one of us had a 32-ounce spray bottle of alcohol, and we spray before in each plant. Okay, it's a good practice. All right, so
I told you they would start pouring in.
yeah, so I'm gonna have to go back. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a hibiscus question from Keith. Oh, and also a lantana question before that.
oh, from Augusta, Georgia.
Yeah.
Welcome, Deb. So 2-year-old lantana.
Got to find out what kind of lantana.
So the 2-day cold snap, the new growth died, dug up yesterday, long, healthy roots, replant or trash. So let's, and I don't know, would you happen to know, so I'm assuming Deb is currently in Georgia. Or are you Deb, are you?
Because that's why the cold snap bothered her lantana, I would imagine. We didn't have that much of a cold snap.
I assume that she's currently in Georgia. So what's I don't know the assessment of lantana in Georgia. Do you know?
No, I can only assume it's the same as here, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. So Deb, first of all, we need to know the type of lantana. Now you're saying it's yellow, orange in color, multicolor. It's really good to get the name of it. The yellow and orange, it could be actually could be a sterile cultivar, or it could be a non-sterile cultivar. And down here in Florida, our non-native lantana, we have a lot of varieties that are considered invasive. Lantana Chimera is one of them. We have some sterile varieties out there. And of course, our native lantana is perfectly fine. So we definitely don't, in Florida, if it's an invasive species, we don't even recommend replanting or transplanting that in the landscape. So if you're
and yes, the invasive variety does attract butterflies. That we're not saying it doesn't, but it has.
Yeah.
The benefits don't outweigh the trouble that it causes.
Not at all. And down here, you know, the introduced lantana hybridizes with the native lantana. Mm-hmm. So you're losing that unique identity of our natives. So yeah, I'm sure it attracts butterflies. I used it in the past, and it's great. Now, Deb, let me ask you a question. With that yellow and orange multicolored lantana, have you noticed it producing any small berries? They start off green and they start black, but have you noticed any berries on that lantana whenever you had it in? And because the reason I'm asking is if you have a lantana that produces, or if you've seen these berries on it, you know that's probably most likely
Invasive?
An invasive species, yes. So that's a bad sign. So for our Floridians down here, whenever you grow across Hernando or other counties, especially in citrus groves, you'll see these multicolored lantana growing on there. You see these multicolored lantana growing on the side of the roads. And they can be yellow, red, they can be pink and yellow, and so on. And those are definitely the invasive species. And they have a lot of berries on them. And then those berries, they have seeds. The berries are spread by the birds. and they just spread like crazy. And the interesting thing about the lantana is that they're alleliopathic, which means they suppress plants growing next to them. They're also highly toxic
Mm-hmm.
to animals.
To livestock, yeah.
To cattle, they're incredibly toxic. Yeah.
And the cattle's like, they don't avoid them. They eat them like candy. So it's a big rancher's problem.
Exactly. Yeah, Melinda, yeah, if you found lantana growing in your yard, it's probably the invasive one, right, Lily?
Probably.
So,
If it's a volunteer, it probably is.
yeah. So berries mean bad. For a non-native lantana, that's a pretty good definition of it. But we know we have a lot of native lantana out there, and so you can go to a native plant nursery. Contact our wonderful Native Plant Society in Hernando, and they can probably give you some resources. We have some in our demo garden here at Bushnell, and I love native lantana. I've used all of it in the past. I had a monstrous butterfly garden when I was younger, and it was probably about a 1/4 acre big. And so I've used basically everything, and I've used native in the past. I've used a non-native lantana before we knew anything about it, and I've used native lantana, and I can tell you native lantana is a far superior performer in my opinion. Compact, doesn't get woody like a lot of the invasive lantanas do, and it just is to me it just is a better performer and just a prettier plant. And and the butterflies absolutely love it. So go out there and get some native lantana. You'll be very happy with it.
I think
I'm just really impressed that people are downloading pictures on this, Lily.
yes, yeah, I know.
You're doing a great
They're
job.
getting really good.
Okay, so I have a hibiscus that I planted. This is from Keith.
Yeah.
Hibiscus that I planted last year, Tropical Fiesta. It dropped most of the leaves over the winter, and they haven't started coming back. The remaining leaves look green and good. Have been using a bad granular fertilizer that I purchased from some local nursery. Okay, so that hibiscus should be flushing out right now, starting to start budding out. Keith, have you noticed any buds, any small leaves coming out from your hibiscus right now? On some of my plants, it is, I have some that are a little slow to come out during the spring, but it's perfectly normal for a hibiscus to drop some of its leaves in the fall. And the reason is that actually, it's a good sign to let you know when the dormant season is coming. I call a hibiscus plant an indicator plant. So what I mean by that is that if you have a hibiscus plant, if you're just watering the heck out of it, 3-4 times a week, that hibiscus leaves will turn yellow almost overnight and they'll drop. If it is not getting enough water, the leaves will start to wilt. You get yellow leaves and the leaves will drop. Okay, so it can tell you if things are too wet or too dry. In the fall, whenever that period comes, whenever things start to slow down, you're mowing less and so on, that hibiscus will naturally lose some leaves. Okay, it's perfectly normal, and what you need to do is listen to your plants. So water on an as-needed basis. That hibiscus should be fine. If the temperatures do get a little low with a hibiscus, depending on the variety of hibiscus that you have, some are hardier than others, those leaves will, sometimes all those leaves will drop, or majority of them will drop. And again, that's normal. So Keith says he does have a bud forming on one, but no new leaves. I would be patient on it, Keith. What I would do is also scratch the stem or the bark and see if it's green, and see if it in fact is still alive. And there's hope. There would still be hope for that plant. If it's brown and dead, then I would, that's definitely not a good sign. And again, Keith, you know, we have to go back to the fertilization. What you're fertilizing with. Look on back of the bag. Make sure it doesn't have any oxides. So you have the percentages, the guaranteed analysis, and you have a small paragraph that says derived from. That's what you're looking for, to derive from. And if it has those oxides, kind of stay away from it and use something else. I would kind of go with Jennifer's plan for her mulberry for hibiscus. Use something organic. Wouldn't you suggest, Lily?
Yeah, that's what I would do. I have a terrible time with hibiscus because I have Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail who are always eating my hibiscus. I have a whole different issue.
That's a whole separate topic. So, organic compost would work good. Me personally, I love hot chocolate from Starbucks. I'm not a coffee drinker. They do, at some certain Starbucks, they do have free coffee grounds. And so I use the coffee grounds. And the coffee grounds do work as a great compost for hibiscus. It does make a difference. You can incorporate that into the soil. Use your own coffee grounds if you're a coffee drinker. You'll notice a difference on that. And just work that in the soil. If you're using a hibiscus fertilizer, you want to use something that has some iron in it, preferably something with some ammonium sulfate. What they call it is acid fertilizer.
Like for azaleas, would that be the same? Yeah.
Same as for azaleas, camellias. Yep. And see how that helps. Now, since your hibiscus is slow to come out, I would go the slow route. So something organic would be great. Even your controlled release fertilizers. So your Osmocotes, Miracle-Gro, Dynamite, they're in like little prills. They fertilize for 3-6 months. I would go that route. I wouldn't put anything too dramatic, too high nitrogen, too quick on your hibiscus now because it's already stressed. You don't want to stress it even more. You want that plant to recover. Don't overwater. Keep, just water on as needed basis. Check that soil, and make sure that you're not overwatering it, because if you're overwatering it, those leaves will constantly drop and you won't get anything. So hopefully that will, hopefully that hibiscus will bud out and be beautiful for you, Keith. So, if you're on our future plant clinics, please share with us your progress. If it starts to bud out and flower, we'd love to see some pictures of it too.
He said he did start a compost pile about a month ago. So he's on the right track.
So Leanna has downloaded some pictures. So I'm going to download those really quick, Lily.
Okay. For zucchini.
Dorothy, let's go back. A solution. Lily, do you know what TSP is? For a disinfectant on tools? What's TSP, Dorothy?
I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll have to ask Dorothy to spell it out for us.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing.
It might be a brand or something. I'm not.
Yeah, I don't know. Whoops, I almost did it again.
No, don't leave. Then you leave me in charge.
Too many buttons on the screen.
Yeah. See, I see that you have your phone here. I did the same thing in an earlier meeting, just practicing. So literally there were 2 me's at the meeting.
As a backup, yeah. All right.
Try sodium phosphate.
Oh, no. For disinfectant, no, use alcohol. I would, rubbing alcohol is your best. Now, you do have a bleach water solution that you use. I think it's like 50-50, but you have to soak it in for a number of minutes. But I'm not going to place my pruning tools in bleach water, not unless if you want to ruin them really quick.
Yeah.
So just straight 70% rubbing alcohol. You can spray them, wipe it down. Even better, you can have a little bowl and have a couple pruning tools, dip one, let them soak, and alternate. That's another great way. That's even better. But that's one of the best things to do for sterilization. So let me find those pictures that I just downloaded. All right, here's one. All right, Lily.
Okay.
Oh,
the zucchini itself.
Yeah. And the plant's wilting. The plant's really gangly too, I've noticed when I was looking at another picture.
Is it getting too hot for the zucchini? Is that?
It's getting there, but I'm just wondering if it develops something in the soil.
She's in a very sandy area, like everybody.
Yeah.
Like all of us. But.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's not. I would bet that it's just. I almost think this is fungal. So we're gonna have to pass this to Dr. Lester.
Okay.
He's the disease expert.
He's the plant pathologist.
He is a plant pathologist. It's a very good one too. Yeah, but nope, I don't know exactly what that is. So Alicia sent me a private chat. So actually you can, Alicia. That would work. All right.
Sounds mysterious. Okay.
It is pretty funny. So, all right.
Melinda has another bush that's covered in aphids. She has seen ladybug larvae, but not many.
Okay, so Alicia said I can share. So it says, since rubbing alcohol is hard to get, can we use rum that's 151 proof, 70% alcohol?
I would not want to use my rum for that, but if you want to, go ahead.
That made my day, Alicia. Thank you. That's awesome. So technically, yes, you can. That's a waste of rum, though. All right.
Yeah, and the plants might wilt.
That's great. So, Melinda, I have another bush that is covered in aphids. I noticed ladybug larvae, but not many. Should I step in? If so, what can I do to remove them without harming ladybugs? I would step in if that bush is declining or showing some severe stress. That's your indicator. That's your threshold, if you will. If not, I would let the ladybugs do their job. The ladybugs are not I would guarantee the ladybugs are not the only one on that plant. So the ladybug larvae are voracious. I wouldn't be surprised if you have some lacewing larvae and some other beneficials. Yep, lacewings as well. And the lacewings are, lacewing larvae are probably more voracious than ladybug larvae. They are they just love to go after the aphids. So you have a wonderful set of beneficials. If it was me, Melinda, I would just let it be. Okay, I would just let it be and let them do their job, because there's nothing that you're going to be able to put on that plant that's going to kill those aphids without it hurting the ladybugs. Even your natural oils, your neem oils, and your natural products is all going to hurt the beneficials. So I would let them do their job. Mm-hmm. And that's great that you identified those correctly too. Great questions. I found out how much I missed plant clinics, so I'm not a horticulture agent anymore. I love answering plant questions from homeowners. So thank you guys for inviting me for today. So if the plant looks good, but buds are covered in aphids, yes, just leave it alone. Yep.
Let nature take care of nature.
Yep. Let nature take care of nature.
And if you kill it, like you said, you'll kill the good guys with the bad guys, and the bad guys always regenerate faster.
Yep, exactly.
Good guys.
Oh, Belinda, do not be sorry to ask so many questions. That's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's on
Yeah.
here, and we found out with even with our other types of plant clinics, some people just like to sit and listen, and some people like to ask a lot of questions. It's all fine. This is what we're here for. So Carol asked a question, or no, is it Melinda? Oh, sorry. So Melinda asked another type of question. What type of trees could I plant near a drain field? What's your suggestion, Lily?
Cypress. It just, my mind left, the kind of trees that they usually put around drainage retention areas. They use a lot of cypress trees. Cypress can do fine in wet or dry. Magnolias might even do. It depends on how much room you have.
Yeah. Is this a drain field from is this a septic drain field
Oh,
or
you're worried about the roots.
or just
Okay.
a regular drain field?
Oh, so that's a different issue.
Okay.
Okay. She's
Okay.
worried about deep roots.
Deep roots. I
Yeah,
wouldn't plant any trees.
right.
None at all.
No, just make that an area with perennials, annuals, something you don't mind losing if you have to dig it up. But that also won't invade your drain field and destroy your septic system, because that would be very, very expensive.
Yeah, exactly. And something with short roots, Lily said perennials. A lot of people put just regular turf grass over a drain field, and that's fine. Some people use a mixture. I've seen people use, and it's typically Bahia grass is what they use. But I've also seen people put perennial peanut over drain fields, which does very well and doesn't hurt it because it has a short root system. And if y'all don't know what perennial peanut is, it's a small ground cover, about 6-8 inches, has pretty yellow flowers during the spring. And EcoTurf is one. I'm going to put this on here.
But you'll have that perennial peanut more than just in your drain field. So, be ready for it to spread.
Yeah, also sunshine mimosa, and that's a native.
Yeah.
And that has pretty purple flowers, so it's technically stamens, but it looks like, if you're familiar with a bottle brush, you have the red flowers.
But little tiny ones.
Little tiny ones. Sunshine mimosa is purple, and but that follow Lily's advice on that too, because even though it's a native, once you have sunshine mimosa, you have sunshine mimosa. But I planted one plant, and it was like 8 feet wide.
Wow.
So the spot is 25 foot away from it, but I know that with time roots can probably creep that way. So if it's 25 feet away, I would still not put any palm tree there. I would not put any large oak there. Maybe, and Lily, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you can get away with a crepe myrtle.
I knew you were going to say that. And that's what I have. I know that's what I have
Great
on my green field. But I'm not going to say one way or another. Maybe one day it'll cause a problem. Hasn't yet. It's the happiest crepe myrtle you've ever seen.
I bet. Yeah.
But it's there, and with the strip of grass and weeds that go up to it, that you can tell exactly where it is when we're in a drought. That would be the only one I would even halfway recommend.
And so crepe myrtles is something that we is okay to plant near your house, because the roots really are not going to do anything to the foundation of the house.
Yeah.
And there's different types of crepe myrtles. You can get the large one, like the Natchez, which is I think it's a large white flower.
Yes. It's like one of the original ones that we got here. Yeah. Yep. The thing is, you don't want to get one that wants to be 40 feet and try to keep training it down to 15.
That's right. Crepe myrtle.
Yes. Get a 15-foot crepe myrtle. There's plenty of new varieties out there. There's one, it's called Black Diamond or something like that.
You're right, Black Diamond.
Yeah, it has the most gorgeous dark purple leaves that look black. And then some of them have yellow, and I think some of them have pink flowers, and against that, it's just really dynamic looking.
Yep. And so I typed that in chat box. I typed black diamond. There's also one that I've used called Tonto, which is a 6 to 8 foot crepe myrtle with red flowers. So Melinda says she has a white one that is huge. That's probably the Natchez, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The older big white ones are Natchez. Have you ever noticed that they bloom first?
Yep. Gorgeous.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, that's what she has. Yeah. You know what I did with my crepe myrtle that's on the drain field? And it's one of the pink ones. You know what I did with it this year? Absolutely nothing. I didn't prune it one single tiny bit. Sometimes I thin it out a little bit. And do you know what's happened? Nothing.
Nothing.
It's fine.
So
People think that's a have to, and it's really not.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We did I had 3 plants out here, Lily. I had 3 crepe myrtles, all Tontos, all full sun, all planted at the same time. No fertilization on them. They were established for a year. So what I did is I took one crepe myrtle and I didn't do anything to it. I did another crepe myrtle and I crepe murdered it.
No. Okay.
And I did another crepe myrtle and I only pruned the spent flower heads. And I selectively pruned it, any cross branches, and so on. So the first one to bloom was the one I didn't do anything to. The second one to bloom was the selectively pruned. And the last to bloom, significantly last to bloom, was the crepe murdered one.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that had the most blooms was the one I selectively pruned.
Okay.
But it wasn't, if you compare the two, you can see one has a little bit more print, but the one that I didn't do anything to looked great as well.
Right.
The one I crepe murdered, the blooms were slightly larger, but it didn't have that many blooms and it bloomed later. So it proved out here that crepe murder is really the best thing to do. Lily's advice is to there's so many crepe myrtles out there, and just purchase the right one. There's actually crepe myrtles that only get a foot tall. Wow. It's amazing how many are out there. Yeah, most of some landscapers commit crepe murder, which is never pretty. It's one of those things that we see a lot.
Well, my theory for that is they do it because, well, they're told to. So, there's no reason that you should yell and scream at the $7 an hour guy who's doing what he's told to do. But if you can get a hold of his boss, maybe. But especially in these gated communities, they're in, they're out, they're on a time schedule. They're going to do what is fast and easy for them to do. So that severe pruning is what they've always done. They're going to do it and move on their way. It doesn't mean anything to them if the association has to replace those crepe myrtles every 8 to 10 years, because that's how they've been treated. That's just part of the cost of doing business. For us as homeowners, we want our crepe myrtles to last a lot longer than that, and we want to treat them better than that.
That's right. That's right. Cool. Lily, can you believe it's 11 o'clock?
Wow.
Time flies.
See? Time flies when you're having fun. Talking about plants.
That's right. So
I said this reminds me of Car Talk, that radio show, but it's plant talk.
All right. So I think we just run out of all the questions. I want to thank all of our attendees, Deb, Melinda, Keith, Carol, all of y'all, Liana. Thank you all so much for asking a lot of great questions.
And Liana, if you can go ahead and just email that to Bill, tell him that Jim and Lily said that he needs to figure it out, your zucchini picture.
Yep.
And he'll get back with you.
And the rest of our participants, thank you so much for joining. And Lily, can you give some upcoming programs for your programs?
Yep. I mean, I can. I usually am doing a Facebook live class from my living room, live from my living room every Wednesday. So I did one yesterday in Florida Friendly and Dog Friendly. So if that interests you, you can go back to my Facebook page, Hernando FFL program, and you can watch it. Let me see what I have going on. Next Wednesday is going to be alternatives for your landscape, as in alternatives, native alternatives for your landscape. Then I have Some Like It Hot on June 27th. That's about the beautiful bloomers that beat our heat. And I even scheduled all of June, wherever I will happen to be in June. I'm still going to do these Facebook Live classes. June 4th is a Thursday. That's the only kind of time I moved away from a Wednesday. So unfortunately, I'll be competing with this, but mine will be recorded. And I'm going to be doing tremendous storm prep, which is going to be part one. It's the lecture. And we'll be talking about how to get some of your trees ready for storms. That tree we just talked about really needs to be looked at before we have these storms come along. It has a lot of potentially dangerous areas. Part two, I don't know when it's going to be yet, but I'm going to working on scheduling, meeting up with an arborist at work so he can tell us what he's doing and why. It'll be kind of really like a field trip, see what's happening. June 10th is rain gardens. June 17th, 10 practical steps to a Florida friendly yard. 10 steps for 9 principles. That's pretty interesting there. And on the last Wednesday in June, on the 24th, going on another field trip to Rita Grant's place. She's a native plant expert, and she's going to be showing us, her plants. You're only going virtually. I will go. We will wear masks and be 6 feet apart and all of that. And then she has a lot of knowledge that she's going to share with us about hummingbird and butterfly plants.
Great.
So that's my next about 6 weeks in a nutshell there.
A lot of great stuff that Lilly is providing through Florida Friendly Landscaping. For more information on your classes for Hernando, we recommend you going to our website or going to our Facebook. You can catch a lot of Dr. Lester's programs and videos on there, as well as our other agents, such as our Sea Grant agent, Brittany Sharf, and so on. So we have a lot of stuff out there for everyone. And
it really is. You can be taught something every day, multiple times a day. By keeping up with us and by keeping up with other counties, what they're doing, that's the neat thing. You don't have to leave. You can watch something from Leon County, and you don't have to leave your house, and just incorporate all this learning.
That's right. And we have this Friday, we have we're going to be talking about the Africanized honeybee. And I have Dr. Bill Kern, who's a foremost expert in probably the United States on Africanized honeybees. He works in South Florida, so he's going to be presenting this Friday at 1 o'clock. And you can find that link on our Facebook page, and you just access the link and you're good to go. It's limited to 100 people. And so we have a lot of great information. If you happen to not be available, that will be recorded on YouTube, and you can just email me and I'll send you my YouTube page for any of the YouTube videos. And you can email Dr. Lester for his YouTube videos and webinars that he's been having as well. So thank y'all for attending, and we look forward to seeing you again. And so please support your county extension and county utilities department. And so we'll talk to you later, and thank y'all for joining. Lilly, thank you so much.
No, thank you, Jim.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.